Welcome. The Fund for Railway Accidents Involving Designated Goods was created to compensate Canadian citizens, businesses, and communities that may encounter damages caused by major crude-by-rail accidents. Join us now to learn about the fund. We'll answer commonly asked questions and explain how the fund works. Over the course of this video, you will learn why the fund was created in response to the Lac-Mégantic railway disaster of 2013, what goods are designated under the fund, how the fund works, including how it is financed and how the claims process works, and how the fund prepares for timely activation. We will also explain some finer points of liability insurance and the regulatory environment. Finally, we will provide links to resources that are helpful when working with the fund. With more than 40,000 kilometers of track, Canada's railway network is an important part of our national transportation system. While generally safe, the transportation of dangerous goods can pose potential risks to the communities and ecosystems that railways pass through. The fund assures that victims of railway accidents involving crude oil are compensated for damages. It is important to understand when the fund is activated and that several conditions must be met. 1. There must be a railway accident. 2. The accident must occur on a federally regulated railway. And 3. The accident must involve crude oil. In such a situation, the fund activates as soon as the railway has paid up to its mandatory insurance level. The fund provides victims with access to unlimited compensation for damages beyond what the railway's insurance covers. The fund was created in 2016 as part of Canada's response to a major railway accident involving crude oil. In 2013, a catastrophic train derailment devastated the town of Lac-Mégantic, Quebec. A runaway train hauling 72 tank cars filled with crude oil derailed in the center of the town. The rail cars ruptured and exploded when the oil caught fire, tragically causing 47 deaths and extensive damage to property and the environment. At the time of the tragedy, the railway company involved in the accident, the Montreal, Maine, and Atlantic Railway, had only $25 million in liability insurance. That was not enough to cover all the damages, and the company quickly declared bankruptcy. The people who suffered damages and their families received mixed messages about where to turn for compensation. The disaster highlighted the need to strengthen the liability and compensation regime for railway companies in Canada. Let's take a moment to understand what limit of liability means in the world of insurance. Every insurance policy has a limit of liability. This is the maximum amount that the insurer will pay out for damages that the insured party, in this case the railway, is liable for. The Canada Transportation Act now mandates the minimum liability insurance that a railway company must carry based on the type and volume of dangerous goods it transports per year. In addition to developing strong liability provisions for railways, the Government of Canada established the fund to ensure victims can access unlimited compensation over and above the railway company's insurance. The fund ensures resources are available to compensate victims, pay for cleanup, and protect taxpayers from these costs. The fund applies to railway accidents involving specific, dangerous, designated goods. Currently, only crude oil has been designated under the fund. This means the fund can only be activated in the case of a railway accident involving crude oil. The government, not the fund, determines whether other goods are added to the list of designated goods. The fund is financed through a levy, a per-ton fee charged to shippers, which is collected and remitted by the first railway to carry the crude oil in Canada. Collected levies accumulate in the fund. It is helpful to know what constitutes a railway company for the purposes of the fund. The Canadian Transportation Act defines a railway company as a federally regulated company that operates or owns the train, the rolling stock, the railway tracks, or any combination of those assets. To be federally regulated, the railway company must hold a certificate of fitness from the Canadian Transportation Agency. As we saw earlier, the fund activates when there is a railway accident involving crude oil and damages exceed the railway company's mandatory liability. Let's look at two examples of when this may happen. In the first scenario, accident damages exceed the railway company's insurance by $50 million. The fund covers that gap by paying $50 million in compensation. In the second scenario, there is a $0.7 billion shortfall. The railway company has $1 billion of insurance. Accident damages are $2.7 billion, and the fund has only $1 billion available at the time. The fund needs to compensate $1.7 billion in damages. To make up the shortfall, the Minister of Finance would top up the remaining $0.7 billion. Then, the shortfall is repaid with interest through an additional levy to the government over time. Once the fund is activated, it covers many types of damages that include cleanup costs and environmental damage, wrongful death and personal injury, property damages, economic damages, loss of subsistence living, loss of hunting, gathering, and fishing opportunities by Indigenous peoples, loss of non-use value. Claims can be filed based on the type of damage incurred. For most types of damage, any person or entity in Canada can file a claim. Submitting a claim begins with gathering all evidence of damages, including invoices, receipts, photographs, and other proof of damages. Claims are directed to the railways involved, and once insurance limits are met, remaining and eligible claims are then transitioned to the fund for processing and compensation. To ensure that claimants receive compensation swiftly and as easily as possible, the fund is engaged in a variety of readiness activities. For example, we monitor crude-by-rail accidents as they occur. We ensure that external resources are available and prepared to facilitate claims assessment. We pre-plan and collaborate with railways and regularly engage with them. We have a communications plan for claimants at the ready in case of an accident, and we conduct ongoing scenario-based training with stakeholders. The fund's stakeholders include all levels of government, railway officials, insurance and claim professionals, emergency responders, legal experts, and many others. We engage with them to ensure they are prepared to act in the case of a qualifying rail accident, and our ongoing monitoring of rail accidents ensures the fund itself remains on high alert. Our goal is to provide clear information and swift compensation to victims. Communications planning is critical in meeting that goal. The fund's communications plan was developed to ensure that victims and claimants receive clear messages about how to obtain compensation. We continue to improve communications with other key stakeholders through periodic workshops and simulation exercises. We also work with federal organizations that would be involved in the compensation of damages following an accident. Ensuring adequate capacity for claims processing is also critical to the fund's mission. For that reason, we retain external claims processing resources on a standby basis. To avoid undue delays in claims processing, we have established protocols for the smooth transition of claims management to the fund. Other ongoing readiness activities include research and consultation on new fields of law and discussions about new types of claims that may arise. The fund ensures that all eligible victims of a major crude-by-rail accident are compensated when railway insurance limits are exceeded. This means citizens, businesses, and communities impacted by a crude-by-rail accident will have access to unlimited compensation when claims go beyond railway insurance limits. The fund's activities are undertaken with the goal of ensuring that victims have access to compensation when needed. To learn more about the fund, visit our website or follow us on social media. You can also refer to these resources for more information about railway companies and the claims process.